We come to this feed for magic. We come to the Real Lovers Podcast to laugh, to cry, to converse. Because we need that. All of us. That indescribable feeling we get when the music begins to fade. And we go somewhere we've never been before. Somehow, heartbreak feels good in a place like this. Our hosts feel like the best of all of us, and discussions feel perfect and powerful. Because here, they are the Real Lovers Podcast. Are you taking a break from all of the trauma that you're dumping onto a fictional Muppet on Twitter? Well, we're thankful that you're taking a break with us. Welcome back to the Real Lovers Podcast. My name is Marley Silverbrand, as always, and joining me today is Kale Smith from the Youth Critic Podcast and From the Top. Welcome back to the Real Lovers Podcast, Kale.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
Oh, I'm doing great. I unfortunately did not trauma dump all my problems onto a fictional character. Did you do the same, Kale? Or
No, I just trauma dumped to everybody else, to all my friends and family.
you trauma dump on this
And
podcast too. We've
I
shared our
do.
trauma together, so
I
that's why I've
do.
had you on so many times as well. So
I know, you're my therapist. Like,
oh,
you don't realize this.
I I am not certified in therapizing anyone, so please so please hold off on your emails real quick.
What? Wait, you haven't answered my latest 1,500 emails from today? Where are you?
Redacted.
Okay.
But no,
Right.
we are not trauma dumping to a fictional Muppet on Twitter. We are actually talking about the 131st film on the Letterboxd Top 250. It is The Chungking Express, directed by Wong Kar-Wai. Yeah.
Yes.
This is
the great.
Was this a first watch for you, Kale, or?
Oh, yes, this is. But my history with Wong Kar-Wai, just very quickly, is I have not seen his work, but his work is very much a part of me because I watch a lot of his like YouTube playlists. Like people put like YouTube compilations of like the songs and images and stuff that's on in his movies. So I'm very familiar with like his work, his style, and certain images and stuff, from this. So watching Chunking Express was kind of like, the Leo meme of just like, there's that song, there's this song, there's this image, there's, this shot,
Mhm.
so yeah, this is a embarrassing first watch,
Yeah,
if I might say so
this was my
myself.
first watch and first entry to Wong Kar-Wai, but we'll get more into that a little bit later in the podcast. But usually, like right around this time, I like to ask like my guests like what are their last 4 films watched. But before we get into that, we have a tragic death that happened yesterday. We're recording this on February 3rd. February 2nd, we lost the late great Carl Weathers. What you've known his work from Happy Gilmore, from what's the character that he played?
The Rocky
Yeah,
franchises,
the Rocky franchises,
Apollo Creed.
Predator as well. I actually just recently watched Action Jackson as well. But yeah,
Hmm.
really sad news. Our hearts go out to his family and loved ones. But Kale, do you have anything to say about Carl Weathers before?
This one really did hurt because he's still was still a working actor, and not only was he still like actively working, he was a director for the Mandalorian show, and so for his work to go from to my dad's generation to my generation to younger than the Z generation, now in the Mandalorian, his work, he will be known in history for all of time. Carl Weathers never got to have his like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, like just I'm gonna be a freaking star like career, but he was always an absolutely great presence, a great character actor, brought so much to everything he did. And so yeah, when I heard this news yesterday or last night, I was very much devastated. It's awful, and I will repeat Marley's words here. I my condolences are with his friends and family, and Sylvester Stallone is absolutely right. The Rocky franchise would be nothing without Apollo Creed. It would absolutely. I 100% agree with that. So
100% agree. We wouldn't
rest
have
in
3 Creed
yeah.
films without Apollo Creed, like
Well, exactly, but right, but it's you need an opponent you needed someone that bring that energy to Apollo Creed, and I mean, and he nailed it so wonderfully and gracefully and perfect.
mhm.
So again, rest in peace, Carl Weathers. Yeah, this is a big one. This really did hurt.
Yeah, it hurt as well, and, like, the one thing I'll like to add on to, like, what you just said is, like, y Carl Weathers was just an incredible, like path for a lot of, like, black actors that came after him as well, and this is also like, especially we're recording this on February 3rd, Black History Month, we need to, like, remember Carl Weathers' work as well. Like, don't let these really great black character actors uh, like just go unnoticed. So watch a Carl Weathers film and let us know how you think. Let us know in the comments down below. But moving on from that somber note, I'll ask Kale, what are your last four watched?
So my last four watched are Tim Burton's Batman movie. I went to the live in concert in Atlanta for it. The other is I've seen Anyone But You. Um, I can already see Marley
Yeah.
smirking.
I had an
I finally
opportunity. I had a free pass to see that movie, and I was like, I don't want to waste a free pass on this. But what do you think? What do you think?
I think it's fine. I think it's really nice. It's Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing, but like in Australia, it's a romantic comedy. It's very much it's not gonna change a lot of things. It is more modern
Hmm.
in that there's a lot more like the male characters are more scared. There's kind of more of a modern look to it. Um, and they do comment on how like Sydney Sweeney is much younger than Glenn Powell, and they just kind of they comment on it and they kind of don't mind it. Also, it's they're doing it in the midst of a lesbian wedding, which is kind of nice to see.
Oh wow.
Even though they're yeah, it's a fun movie. I've seen Return of the Jedi. I've seen and Mean Girls,
Oh, the musical.
the musical. I
Okay.
finally saw Mean Girls, the
It
musical.
is a musical, everyone. The new one that came
Yes,
out this year. So
it's yeah, but don't worry, folks. It's the same story, same movie, same everything, just a different cast and repackaged as a musical. Just
but
and that's kind of my criticism on
but
it.
yeah,
Go
which
ahead,
is a
Marley.
disappointment for me when I saw Mean Girls as well, just because I'm on the internet saying that the original Mean Girls is not as great as people say it is. So I was going into this new Mean Girls.
Well, Marley, speak for yourself, but
Well, yeah,
okay.
I was going into this new Mean Girls hoping it would be kind of like a Gen Z sort of like tweak on like the whole Mean Girls trope, which is it sort of a little bit what it did there, but it's still written by Tina Fey. And like, say what you want about Tina Fey, like I love 30 Rock, but I feel like some of her movies are a little bit hit or miss. Like I feel like her comedy is just it can be a little bit cringe sometimes, and that's how I feel with Mean Girls. But I don't know. I was just a little disappointed because I recently just saw the first Mean Girls, and I was like, "Oh, is this gonna be this? Hopefully, this is gonna be something different," and it's not. So it's like, yeah,
Yeah, and on the Tina Fey note, I really do like her as an actress. Like I think she brings a lot,
mhm,
into comedy. I mean, even in what's the new Hercule Poirot movie, A Haunting of Venice? Is that right?
yeah, mhm.
she brings a lot as a journalist, and I don't know why she doesn't work that much anymore. Just because it feels like because I feel like Tina Fey is a great presence in movies, but it's like, but really, it's like the only thing I can remember her in recently is like Soul, Haunting in Venice, and this movie. Like I don't, there's not a whole lot of stuff she does. She might do one movie every other year or so, and I kind of feel like we kind of need a little, because I feel like Tina Fey's presence is great. Maybe she shouldn't. Maybe I would agree that she doesn't have to write every part she is in.
Mm-hmm. Well, she probably is really busy now, especially now since she's supposed to be taking over for SNL.
Okay, so that might, I've heard only that's a rumor. I've only heard is it real though? Like she might be taking after Lauren
Yeah,
Michaels in.
she is supposed to be taking after Lorne Michaels. So we probably actually will be seeing
honest
her a lot more for recently in the future.
Honestly, that might be a good thing, just because I mean it'll diminish, like, again, how much she can do outside of SNL. But it might be good because I don't know. I think, because I feel like the best years, and again, I'm biased. I watched the 2000s SNL,
Mm-hmm.
um, but some of the best years that I remember, other than the 70s, and with the original cast, to me the Tina Fey era, with Amy Poehler and Seth Meyers, all that whole Fred Armisen, all that, to me that was one of some of the best years on SNL, where they really got to do more interesting comedy and actually work with, like, interesting people. And I think at the tail end of her run, she brought in Lonely Island and stuff. So, and of course, I mean, the Lonely Island, you can never have enough. So, um, but yeah, I definitely, but yeah, with Tina Fey, I do like her. In Mean Girls, I wish I had better things to say. I think it's a solid update. It worries me that with this and The Color Purple, that we now have that, there might be a trend of like, hey, this thing was really popular a while back. Let's just repackage it as a musical, not even like change the story, not even give a director their own vision or take. We'll just repackage the story and use the iconography of the original movie as, instead of a director's new take or and whatnot. So that's how I'm kind of, again, maybe I'm a cynic, but that's how I kind of approach. That's how I felt about Mean Girls. Anyone But You is fine. Batman is great as usual, and Return of the Jedi, I've done a whole podcast on it, so on From the Top. So just go. That's my plug. Just go, please watch that. Go find the link that that I will give Marley later.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, those are great last four watched. I totally agree with you on Mean Girls and like Tina Fey, but I also have been watching four films as well. I started off the week with Anatomy of a Fall. Uh that
nice.
I to be honest, I'm gonna say right now, like if I saw that movie in 2023 and not 2024, it would have been in my top 5 movies of the year, because it's probably one of the better movies I've ever seen. I think it's like immaculately like directed. I think Sandra Hüller, she just gives a really great performance throughout that entire movie. Just, it's not really like a crime drama, as it's a crime drama, and people kind of like coined it as like a thriller as well, but I would say it's more of a crime drama of just like, and but the thing that I liked most about that is that you're not constantly like wondering if she did it or not. You're kind of like on the journey with her, like through this like through this movie. Like you're not necessarily like seeing like if she did it or not. You're like kind of like following along with her on this journey, and that's kind of, in my opinion, I feel like that's immaculate direction, because that's probably the problem that we have with like crime dramas now, where it's like you have a bunch of people coming out online saying like, oh, based on this, like they're kind of like making their own theories and hypothesis, and I feel like the way Justine Triet directed that uh, was really great. But None of You'll Fall, not really for the faint of heart, but it's definitely worthy of Best Picture as well. Another film that I saw was I wouldn't call it a Best Picture film, but actually kind of interesting as well. It was Lil Nas X, Long Live Montero. It was my lone concert documentary of the year. I saw it pop up on HBO Max, and I was like, "No, what? I think Lil Nas X is actually pretty an interesting human. I would want to know more about him." And I wouldn't say that I learned anything more about him with this documentary, which is actually kind of disappointing. But
Oh wow.
but I think the most interesting thing about like this documentary is that the thing that I know most about Lil Nas X is like his presence on social media and how he's kind of like a jokester. And uh and like in the documentary, it's very interesting having him kind of like sit down and do like a talking head and just kind of like sit still. And I'm like, oh wow, he's actually kind of normal a little bit. Where it's he's not like doing like a fart meme or something like that. So it was kind of like humanizing for me as well, just because of like how people are treated like on social media. But I don't know. I thought it was entertaining. If you're a fan of Lil Nas X, you'll love Long Live Montero on Max, the one to watch for HBO. But
Can I ask a question about Lil Nas X?
yeah,
Is he a good musician?
I think he's a really great songwriter. Uh,
Okay.
I so I would classify that as a good musician, just because he's kind of falls within that same Taylor Swift kind of like bubble of like you can write great music, but playing instruments, I'm not sure just yet. But and I feel like his the music that he's released recently, like the beats, like they're okay, but I feel like I've kind of like outgrown like him as an artist, but I still kind of respect like his bravery and just like being who he is like on stage. I think that's really incredible, especially like where he came from. But yeah, um, do you think he's a good musician?
I don't know if I've ever heard a song from him.
I'm
If I
surprised.
have, you're
Yeah.
surprised? I don't know. Maybe if I find some songs, I'll be like, okay, because that's what happens sometimes. I won't. I don't like pair. I won't. Because I hear a lot of stuff on the radio, and I don't know who's.
Mhm.
So, so I maybe if I find a song and I'm like, okay, I've heard of this.
Well, since you said that you listen to songs on the radio, like his songs played on the radio for like hours on end. It's kind of surprised me. That's the only reason why it surprised me.
Well, maybe. Well, maybe I have, and I didn't know it,
Yeah, but
and I just wasn't paying attention.
well, maybe the documentary will introduce you to Lil Nas X. You can watch it on Max, the one to watch for HBO. But the next film that I watched was I've been trying to watch this film for pretty much all of 2023, because it was playing in theaters for like maybe 2 weeks, and maybe less than that, and it was like nowhere on streaming. But I finally got a Stars subscription, a free trial, and I watched Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, and I thought this film was an absolute delight. I think that this film is just a wonderful like story about just where we stand, at least where I stand with like religion, and just like and where some people like me kind of stand with religion as well, where it's just a kind of like a like it doesn't like necessarily like talk bad on religion like in like the traditional way. Like definitely there's like issues like in the movie where like no spoilers for the movie, but there's definitely like issues like that come up that religion was definitely like played a huge part in. But I like the way this movie kind of like the message that it had, where it's just like you can kind of like exist in your own space and have God in your life, and uh God in your life in like a certain part of your life, but you don't have to like subscribe to like any religion. And I think that's really incredible that like a main studio backed a film like this. But I think that it wasn't this film like on your top 10 movies of 2023, Kale, or
Um, it probably is. Again, I haven't finished my top 15. I know it's a tragedy. I know. But no, but I loved this movie when it came out. I saw this, I think, on the same day or around the same time I saw Guardians 3. So, and I really was like, that was the weekend where I was like, man, we are really on a high. We have Air in theater still. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is amazing. And now we have this movie from Kelly Freeman Craig, who did The Edge of 17, which I also love. Um, and and she does this movie, and it really is like a beautiful movie about coming into womanhood, but also understanding her, parental and maternal identity. It's a really good movie. I love it. I hope Kelly Freeman Craig directs some more movies because, like you said, it is a brave movie that tackles all these very important issues and great mother daughter relationship. Love it. And Benny Safdie is just hot dad.
I didn't even realize it was him until the credits rolled on that. So that thought that was actually pretty incredible. So, but because I'm not used to seeing him on screen, but I loved Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. It's definitely a great watch. And then the last movie that I watched was a movie that I watched on Canopy, a streaming service that I've been frequently using, and it's a documentary. It's called Subject. Subject is a documentary that came out in 2022 about kind of like the ethics of documentary filmmaking, stuff that I already knew about, because working on various documentaries like in my life, like I know that you go through like this strenuous process of getting like release forms and working with the subjects and how the story kind of like tweaks like over time to make it more entertaining. But this documentary kind of goes into like the whole, like how it affects like these subjects and how it affects like their lives, especially with like the rise of streaming. And I like, for someone that, like I said, that knew already, that knew about this like already, I thought it was like really, I thought it was a really great documentary to kind of like put out there for like the masses, so the masses kind of, because I feel like the common knowledge now is like when a documentary comes out, like it's kind of like what I said, like with like the whole crime drama, thing, like on Twitter, people are constantly like figuring out like these people become like caricatures of like who they actually are. And I feel like what this documentary gets across as like these people in the documentary, they're actual people, and we need to treat them like actual people. And uh, yeah, I thought it was really great documentary. It follows like the subjects from the staircase and the square, and then I can't remember the other two, but you can check out that documentary. It's streaming right now for free on Canopy. Well, if you have a library card. But have you seen the subject, Kale?
No, I have not. No, but it sounds really interesting though, because I've always wondered. Because the thing is, I always wondered about that kind of stuff too. Is how much of, because I mean, we see it in reality TV, we see it in I mean, in documentaries as well, but of like who are these people really, really, and also. And does the subject go into this idea of, is it really our business as the viewer, as the viewer slash voyeur, that do we really need to get to know these people personally? Do we need to get to know them on such an individual personal level?
Uh,
Does it go on that at all?
it goes into it a little bit, but it more goes into like how this is on the filmmakers as well. By not being, we need to be, as filmmakers, we need to be more transparent with the people that are in this documentary and let them know like when we make changes to kind of like make the story a little bit more interesting. Because I'm not trying to flex or anything like that, but I've worked on a couple of documentaries that will remain nameless, where the story was focusing mainly on like one of the grandmothers, like in the movie. And then when we found out that like one of like the uh like one of the mothers had a more interesting like story to tell, we decided to pivot. That documentary will remain nameless just because I don't want to scrutinize like those filmmakers at all. But like that, but that's That's what documentaries are supposed to do. Like we're telling a story. Documentarians are storytellers, and I feel like the narrative now is that a lot of people are getting their information from documentaries like they're journalists. Documentaries aren't journalists, they're storytellers. And I feel that's what this documentary subject basically tries to educate people on. And I think that's really important as well.
Awesome. That is great. And you said Canopy, and it's free as long as you have a library card.
Yeah, it's Canopy is a great streaming service, and it's free if you have a library card as well, and if your library is working with it as well. But even if your library isn't working with Canopy, pretty much most librarians are, or if you talk to like the head people like there at your local library, they will work with Canopy to kind of like get everything all set up. But yeah.
Nice.
Definitely check out that documentary. But those are our last four watched. Let us know your last four watched in the comments down below. But Kale, let's get into our discussion of Wong Kar-Wai's The Chungking Express.
我每天都买一罐5月1号到期的凤梨罐头，因为凤梨是阿妹最爱吃的东西。而5月1号是我生日，我告诉我自己，当我买满30罐的时候，他如果还不回来，这段感情就會過期。
先生呢個罐頭賣埋聽日已經夠期啦，嗰邊有好多，不如你換嗰罐啦。Okay.
That was a clip from a scene from Wong Kar-Wai's The Chungking Express. This film came out in 1994, and as I stated in the beginning of this podcast, it is the 131st film on the Letterboxd Top 250. I'm just going to read the synopsis from IMDb. Two melancholic Hong Kong policemen fall in love, one with a mysterious female underworld figure, the other with a beautiful and ethereal waitress at a late night restaurant he frequents. This was like, as we both stated at the beginning of this podcast, Kale, this is a first time watch for both of us. And my first entry into Wong Kar-Wai, I've heard numerous stories about how just influential he is to many other Hong Kong filmmakers and just filmmakers in general. He is influential. Like it doesn't so I was going in kind of like anticipating like this film to be just like this groundbreaking like film, and I walked away from this film like this film is all vibes, and it's definitely kind of like a very pleasant like experience. But Kale, I'm very excited to hear like what you thought of what are your initial reactions to The Chungking Express?
It is all vibes, but it is one of the best like hangout movies. It's one of the in what's so great what makes it kind of vibes is that it's shot and composed in such a way to where you're never gonna forget any of the frames in this movie. You're never gonna forget any of the shots, how everything kind of flows, the way that there's this like slow motion cinematography, but it's done in like in kind of like a fast, like almost like painterly kind of way. And it's so incredible to watch. It's so incredible and visceral, and it's just great that we get to live in the lives of these four people, because it's really a story of four different people. Mm-hmm. And then the plot, the synopsis isn't wrong. There are two cops that are falling in love with two different women, but it's really a story of all four of these characters, in the lives of of this Hong Kong of Hong Kong, and how they navigate their world, and how they perceive it, but also like what dreams and desires do they have. And also in the backdrop of this, we just see is it Tony Leung?
Tony Leung.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me. We just see Tony Leung just being hot, and so hot that I've made the joke in the last day or so that Tony Leung is so hot in this movie, it should be illegal. Like it should absolutely, there should be laws passed because it's like it's too. I mean, I've never I've never known someone to make like Whitey Tidy so hot. I'm sorry to bring the sex appeal, but that's literally like I will literally I'm now, full on. And on top of that, he's a great actor.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the other thing too. He's like the triple threat. He's hot, sexy, and a great actor.
And I think one of the things that I appreciated like most about this film, because after like the credits rolled, I immediately, like I always do, like look up like more information about this film, and apparently like he Wong Kar-Wai was like I forget what film he made like before this film, but it was like this huge success, and this allowed and Wong Kar-Wai would basically just said like I could make like my next like really great like a really great like film, or I could just take a step back and like make a film for myself. So he decides to like make Chungking Express like here, and just kind of like make this kind of like just gritty, kind of like down to earth. We're only going to have like 4 actors like in this movie, and just kind of like shoot it very guerrilla style filmmaking. And like you mentioned like the way this film like looks like with the fast and slow motion like scenes kind of like blended together. I like immediately like when I saw the like those scenes, like the way that this whole movie like opens like with like the slow motion, like this movie is about love. Like I feel like when it all comes down to it, it's about love and how love is confusing. And I feel like the slow motion and fast adds to the blurriness of like what love actually means to like all of us. And I actually thought that was actually like pretty beautiful like as well, to kind of have like that symbolism symbolism there. But yeah, um, and I know this is a very long-winded like explanation, but when I was watching this film as well, I feel like a perfect companion piece for this film is a film that came out last year, and that's Past Lives. Like two films that focus in uh, on uh, very little characters, and just kind of you're living with these characters, and like seeing and how they experience life, how they experience love. I think they're both like absolutely beautiful films, but
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And what's even more insane is like what the mileage that Wong Kar Wai gets out of like this very few locations. I mean, there's an apartment, there's a side. It's not even a restaurant. It's just like it's like a stand.
but
Um,
those shops, I haven't been to Hong Kong, but those shops are pretty common like in Hong Kong. I kind of like described it a little like watching it, described it to myself a little bit like a bodega in a way, or like
right. Okay.
yeah, or like a food truck that's like embedded into the side of a building. So yeah.
Ex- exactly. Yeah. I mean, I kind of call it a food stand. Like they're like the food stands we see in the mall and
Mhm,
whatnot. But instead of them being in an interior setting, they're in an exterior. They're outside of a building,
mhm.
or they're on the outside of buildings. And for me, there's the apartment, a couple hotel rooms, and then a gas station, and an actual bodega that has like pineapples and canned pineapples and stuff.
Mhm. This film
Um,
made me crave pineapples, like like, and the scene that I played like for the audio listeners, you'll know that I played like before we got into this review, like this I believe that's Cop 223, like in
yes.
the film, uh, like his like whole like output on like love and like what life is that I always thought I thought like um like his like experience with like love and life is that it's very childish. Like he's like he's inexperienced. He doesn't know like he's loving like multiple like women like at this time. Like he's like the woman that he's talking like on the phone, and then the woman that he meets, the blonde woman, the woman with the blonde wig, like he falls in love with her, but he doesn't know if like she loves him back. And I feel like that's very much like a symbolism for like young love. Like it's a perfect representation for like young love and like kind of like what we go through at a young age. But what do you think about like that character?
I was really with his story because it really is, because he's kind of got this like puppy dog charm in that he's really sad. Like he's going through a breakup and he's going through like all of the the stages of grief that come with it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to fill it, with things like pineapple. He's trying to fill it with things that are very, metaphysical. They're very meta, they don't really mean anything. They don't really, mean anything only to him. It only means something.
Mm-hmm.
And so he does like this one night relationship with this woman who's in danger because she's, gotten screwed over by the, her underworld. And it's the story of like how these two people just spend or the first story, it's the story of how these two people spend one evening, and and I kind of got the sense that she's more older, more mature,
Mm-hmm.
that she is like, I like, she was like 10 years like this person.
Mm-hmm.
She was 10 years ago, and now she's like, fuck, I gotta oh god.
Well,
like I gotta deal with this.
I don't really know much about like your love life, but you've never like when you were younger, you never fell for the older person. Like I think we've all done that. But
no, oh yeah, no, I completely understand.
oh no.
No, yeah, I completely understand that. I completely understand. I've been there before, but I can just see it on her face and and feel it in her shoes, where I'm just like, I completely understand, where she's just like, God damn it, I can't deal with this right now. I'm trying to get the hell out of the city, and I got this boy who just wants to be, just wants to cuddle up. It's like her priorities, her situations, her
she don't need a man
problems
in
are
her
way
life.
worse than this guy.
She don't need a man in her life. She's just worrying about herself. So
yeah, she's doing fairly okay worrying about herself.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
But like, do you agree? Like, Cop 223 is basically just a very like childish kind of like look of like what the world is, and just kind of like you said, puppy dog eyes. Is kind of like, oh, poor me, look at me. I'm like, it's like I will say though, that Cop 223 story, like with the whole pineapple like cans, saying that like the expiration on May 1st, like that's our that's a symbolism for like my relationship. It will expire on May 1st. Not saying that I have ever done that, but done something pretty close to that. So, and it's very sad.
I've not tried that kind of therapy, but I will the next time. I will the next go around. But yeah, no, but I do understand the pineapple thing. I love it. It didn't make me crave it because watching it, I'm like, oh god, if he eats. So I've done this too, but for different reasons. I've eaten a lot of fruit, and it makes, and of course, if you eat so much of one thing, you're gonna get sick. So especially like acidic fruit like pineapple, watermelon, oranges, those kind of fruits. So watching it, and I'm like, he's gonna eat all 30 cans. Oh god, he's gonna be so sick.
And then he goes to the bar like immediately after, which is like mixing alcohol with acidic fruit. Like that's like the worst thing you could possibly do.
Yeah, that's dumb. His gut is totally fucked.
Bubbling.
His gut is not going to be happy with
yeah, it was all bad for him. And yeah, but Cop, like, I feel like we covered like Cop 223 like pretty well. Like that's like
we got that story down.
Then we can move on to 663, like your favorite character, Tony Leung's hot dad, cop hot dad.
who is the opposite of 223, if we may, put some film criticism, film glasses on, or film critic glasses
Let me
on.
put my film hat on. Here we go. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, and my fake cigarette, let me get my fake cigarette in the frame. But he's the opposite of 223. He's the opposite. He's actually kind of been through some relationships. He actually, maybe just had that like stage of his life. So it's kind of interesting how this movie really is like one continuing story of how characters are going through one relationship through another, or the beginning of end of one and going to the beginning of another. But we do it with two different characters.
Yeah.
We like it's like if this movie, I don't think this happened. This is not, me projecting, but it's like if like this movie like lost its actors halfway through and they had to just and they had to redo like, and they had to recast halfway through, and this continued on with the story. And that's literally kind of like how this movie is, because 663 is kind of still got puppy love, but he's much more mature about it. He's much more, he's kind of got more of a chip on his shoulder about it. Like he said goodbye to the stewardess. He kind of got some closure out of that relationship, but he never got the keys back. And then the keys got mailed, I think got sent back to like the bodega he frequents. It's weird that you just not like go to the apartment itself and then just slide it under, but
storytelling.
But it creates this nice like interesting like vacuum for this other character, the short-haired waitress who played Blast California Dreamin'.
Yeah.
Who?
Faye.
Yeah. She blasts California Dreamin',
which
great song.
Such a great song. Like it after the credits rolled on this, like it's one of those movies kind of like Saltburn in a way, where just playing California Dreamin' like on repeat at this point. And the way, because let me look up like that actress's name, or can you Google it up? That the character
2 seconds.
The character of Faye actually performed that live, like in camera. Like she performed it like
it's Faye Wong.
Yeah, Faye Wong. She performed like that, and the way she she like danced like during that entire scene. Like I think that's like incredible. It's like her own kind of like rendition of California Dreamin' by is it the Cranberries?
California Dreamin' or Dreams?
California Dreamin'.
That's from the Mama and Papa.
Oh yeah, Mama. Oh, yeah. Okay. But yeah.
But that song, but Dreams is from the Cranberries.
Yeah, but it's like their own kind of like interpretation of that, and like the character, like Faye's character, is definitely like what she's going through throughout this entire movie. It's like she wants to love, but in a way, but she has like these other aspirations of like what she wants to do. Like she wants to like go to like California and like discover like who she is there. And I relate so much to that character, like so much, just because like that's kind of like how I've like lived like my life, and how I've treated love, how I want to put like my career like first before love. So to see like a character like that represented on screen was very heartfelt to me. But I'm talking too much, Kel. What do you think of Faye's character?
To me, what I love about her is, you're right that she does want to love, but her love is more, or her kind of, not love language, but her way of wanting love is to kind of live vicariously, to live, in a dream. They call it sleepwalking in this movie, but it's more just like, it's more obsession, it's more dream, it's more, it's more obsession than love. It's more, and that's like, and to me, like, that's what's so fascinating about her Faye's character, is that she really is like trying to live vicariously through this cop character and live like as this flight attendant. Like she loves him, but her love language is to basically become some other person, not herself.
Mm-hmm.
And at a certain point, she finally kind of takes, there's a great line in the masterpiece classic movie, The Rocky Horror Picture Show, called Don't Dream It, Be It.
Mm-hmm.
And at a certain point in this movie, towards the end, she decides to not dream it anymore, just be it, and just take whatever she has with her and fly to California.
Mm-hmm.
And live there for a year. And then, and it's also when the cop also puts it together that this woman has his keys and has just been like, moving stuff around the house, like cleaning, adding like multiple goldfish.
Well, I think the the beginning of this podcast, you stated like that's kind of like stalker like behavior and just kind of like psychopath behavior. But I see that as like another form of love as well, where it's like she loves like Cop 663 in this way where she will clean up for him, like and clean up for him and kind of like tend to like his place of rest, because like Cop 663, like we didn't stay at like the way his like his entire apartment or flat or space.
It's an apartment.
It's basically kind of trashed at this point. Like he's not really cleaning up after himself and stuff like that. And
well, I mean, Marley, he's going through a breakup.
Mm-hmm.
He's having his like a fuck it. If the pile of magazines is all over the floor, fuck it. He's having that kind of phase. He's kind of having that kind of mode about him, and and Faye kind of comes in and kind of as the role of the in a kind of almost also in kind of a kinky way, as a way of like cleaning the house and kind of putting not kinky, but like in a kind of a in a less, we'll just say kinky for the sake of this.
Well, that's the love that she can provide. She doesn't think that she can do like physical touch type of love or like emotional like love. It's like this is the love that that she feels like she's capable of doing, because she doesn't have the capacity for a relationship. Not saying that she will never have that capacity, but it's at this point in time, like that's who she is. And I actually, because like there's people like that in this world where they want to care for people like from the outside and kind of like be outside observers and admire people for like that, and without being a stalker. But I think that's a very interesting way, the way this movie kind of like portrayed that.
Exactly. I think and also it is kind of like the fun part it is the most memorable part of the movie, because you get like the cranberries, you get the California Dreamin', you get all these like you just get to see a person live their life, and and funny, and you mentioned it as well, there wasn't really a lot of them. This movie really wasn't scripted, so it really was just like just live, just do whatever you want, live, do what you think this character would do, so I mean, this movie is so, the way it was made, it's made so guerrilla, it's made so just like we're just gonna just shoot whatever, it's done in the way that George Lucas describes how he wants to direct, not to bring an American filmmaker into this, but it's like, it's how I feel like when like watching this movie, I feel like this is how Lucas would rather direct movies. Just be like, we'll just set up the cameras and y'all just do whatever you want, just we'll play some music, and I'll figure this.
We'll set up this camera, guys, and this is just action. Just go. This is how.
Just go with your own rhythm.
Yeah.
And then when you do a second take, just do faster and more intense.
and cut. We're done for the day. Sorry.
I think we got it. No, and it's fine,
But
and I
George
don't mean to bring Lucas into it.
No, I'm really glad that you brought George Lucas in, because George Lucas was like inspired by a lot of like Hong Kong like filmmakers and people like within that same like generation. Like Quentin Tarantino really loves this movie, and I imagine George Lucas the same. So I can
Well,
see a
and
lot of like American graffiti in in Wong Kar-Wai as well. But
Well, and also Lucas is inspired, and I'm sure Wong Kar-Wai is also inspired as well by like French New
mhm,
Wave and how like everything kind of just is like, and also he like both Wong Kar-Wai and the French New Wave kind of had this like ability of like we have smaller cameras now. We have like all we can have a more condensed equipment. And of course our equipment would get much smaller as we have cell phones now
mhm.
that we can use as cameras. But as stuff gets smaller and smaller and more easier and more able to run around and move, you can actually do like interesting shots and actually be able to just like sit with characters and
Mhm.
sit in a room, in a car, in an apartment, and not have to make it look like it's a sitcom set or something.
Yeah,
You know,
and also interesting thing to note, like about Wong Kar-wai as a filmmaker, like I'm not sure like how familiar you are with like Hong Kong like cinema, but I've watched like a few films like before this, so I'm not totally like versed on like on like that side of the world for like films, but like the films that I did see, like they're all very like action like heavy, like action film and kind of like
John
quick
Woo.
John Woo, quick cuts, and just like really intense like type of filmmaking. So it's very interesting that Wong Kar Wai just decides kind of like to do his like own thing and kind of like tell like these deeply connected like character pieces, but also use like those same aesthetics like that we mentioned, like with the like with the fast and slow motion like of like the opening scene. So I love kind of like that blend of style where it's like just Wong Kar Wai kind of like doing like his own thing, but also kind of like staying within his roots of like what Hong Kong cinema actually is. But yeah, are you familiar with like many like Hong Kong like films besides this one, or?
No, I mean I'm familiar with John Woo, but I'm not. But other than that, like that's kind of where this and John Woo films are kind of where my boundaries are at.
Mhm,
Not my in not boundaries that won't push further, but just like that's the farthest I've gone is like stuff like John Woo
mhm.
and Hard Boiled, that kind of stuff, and but no, I mean, and to me, watching this movie and not having that kind of context, like you could have said this was a French movie
Mhm,
or or I mean, even Danny Boyle at this time was experimenting with these kind of
mhm.
techniques, in England. So, so it's very much like this was kind of catching on, like this kind of movement of like push the camera, let's push camera movement and editing styles and slow motion and fast motion. Let's push all of this to create, I mean, even stuff that normally wouldn't be used. Like, I know Wong Kar Wai uses the fisheye
Mhm.
lens, this massive, like I mean, it's almost spherical, in the way he will shoot certain things. And a lot of filmmakers don't want to do that. They want to shoot kind of in the 35 to 50, millimeter
Mhm.
range, where it's very, widescreen, or it's a box. That's more, what they're comfortable with. Like, but I give Wong Kar Wai, such commending, such, commit. I commend him so much because he is willing to take all of like the tools that we don't use. We, just boring Americans, don't want to use, and just like, hey, let's see if we can make it interesting. Let's see if we can make it kind of vibey, and see what we can, make and how we can make it like pop, and how we can make it kind of look kind of cool and stylistic, and make what is essentially a hangout movie more stylistic and more interesting, visually than what it would be on paper.
Yeah. I totally agree with you there. But we're approaching the hour mark. And
Yes.
I feel like we kind of touched pretty much everything on like all the characters like in this movie and like what like uh like how we feel about like the movie and just like what Wong Kar-Wai does here. But do we have any more final thoughts on Wong Kar-Wai's The Chungking Express?
I love the ending. I love that he buys the shop, um, and takes it over and lives almost kind of vicariously the way she used to live.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, he manages and owns and take care of it, but he's like in her role.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a great way of him showing her a year after she's been on her California journey that he's had this moment and is happy about it.
Hmm.
Like, he's absolutely like thrilled to be out of the force and just running his little stand in his little pocket in the world.
He's playing the
Yeah.
song. He's playing the song that she loves so much and dance to in the shop.
Hmm.
And I feel like that adds like a lot of like character development to his character because at the beginning he he was like, oh, how do you listen to this, the song's trash. And he didn't say it was trash, but he just didn't care for it. And by the end of it he grew as a character. It's very basic film bro kind of like development, but I feel like here it's more than just that. It's like it shows that like you can grow without someone else by your side. And like you can grow as with as a human without having like a physical person to love you. And I think that's actually beautiful.
Exactly. You can have an arc on your own without the person you love beside you, without or an arc independently of somebody.
Hmm.
Yeah, this is a great movie. I cannot wait to watch more Wong Kar Wai movies, especially now since a lot of them are on HBO Max.
Yeah, HBO
Uh,
Max, the one to watch for HBO. So
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I'm calling it HBO Max. I don't care what. I don't care. Okay, it's Max, but yeah.
Yeah. But
Um,
yeah, this was definitely like a pleasant watch. It's just a very nice like vibey film to just and but also has a lot of like I wouldn't say it's like a completely like nice film because there is a lot of violence in there, but I don't think the violence kind of like uh overwhelms like the movie. Like the violence is there for a reason. But yeah, that was Wong Kar-Wai's The Chungking Express. You can watch it now on Max, the one to watch for HBO. And Kale, this is the part of the show where um, you tell the people where they can find you.
You can follow me on Twitter at MovieKale. This is where you can find all the information and updates on my two shows. Currently, I run the Youth Critic Podcast, which we are currently kind of catching. We're kind of on a little hiatus because we are catching up and watching a bunch of movies from 2023, so we can finish our best of 2023 episode, and then we'll kind of move forward with reviews for like Madam Web, Argyle. Um, Hopefully, the Bob Marley movie will be good.
I'm hoping it will be good because I can't take uh, that discourse, especially with my name. But
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah, you were so
yeah.
screwed. Um,
Damn, that Marley just sucks. I'm like,
that Marley movie sucks.
yeah, because before,
But no,
not trying to take away from your plugs. It's like I'll let you finish, but since you brought it up, like I've
yeah.
for the longest time I've had like all the discourse around the whole Marley and Me like movie where it's like, oh, it's like Marley makes me so sad. Now I have like this discourse of like the Bob Marley movie being just absolute shit. So am I shit? Or anyways, let continue.
So stick around for the Youth Critic Podcast for that. Again, I'll give Marley a link to in the description, or for him to put in the description to that show. And then I also do another show called From the Top, the Ultimate Filmmakers Retrospective. Is a filmmakers retrospective where we go over the filmographies in a director's filmography. We are currently on season 2. So we are on the George Lucas season. The past season was Michael Mann. And as this episode is coming out, we will have done Return of the Jedi last week, and then on Wednesday, this coming up Wednesday around 8 or 9 o'clock Eastern time, we will upload and release the Phantom Menace episode. A fun episode. Hopefully, Marley will be on. Our boy Marley will be on.
Yeah, I will be on talking about the Phantom Menace, a film that I don't know how to feel about, so it'll be very interesting to rewatch that. So.
Well, it's funny you say that because no one else knew how to feel when they first saw it. So
yeah.
So please check out those. I would be so happy, and follow me and all that. Like, I would be so happy. Marley, thank you so much for letting me talk about Chungking Express. Thank you. This is such a great opportunity.
Glad that you were able to come on and talk about this movie. And all the links, of course, will be in the description box down below for Kale's work. Definitely go check him out. He does really great work, and it deserves to be listened to and read. And if you enjoy anything that I have done, you can follow me pretty much on all social medias. I'm on Threads, Instagram, and TikTok with the username at Marley Loves Film. And then you can also follow the podcast Real Lovers Pod on those platforms as well. Also, if you have any thoughts about the Chungking Express, go ahead and drop us a line at 213-433-2908. Leave us a voicemail and we'll play it on the next episode. Your thoughts on the Chungking Express. If you enjoy anything that we're doing, like on this podcast, please feel free to donate to our Patreon at $1. At $1, you get basically pretty much everything. Get behind the scenes clips, access to our community Discord server, and bonus episodes as well. And then the $5 episode, you get to choose like what movie we watch next in the Letterboxd Top 250. So if you want to donate $5, basically the price of the movie that we'll watch. But you can choose the next movie that we watch in the Letterboxd Top 250. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Give us 5 stars and let us know how we're doing. And that's pretty much it. Follow us on pretty much everything. Next week on the podcast, we are talking about the 1994 Disney animated film, The Lion King. We got a really great special guest planned for that episode, so stay tuned for Friday when that episode will release. Watch The Lion King with us, and but for that being said, my name is Marley Silverbrand for the Rail Livers Podcast, and
I'm Kale Smith from the Youth Critic Podcast and from the top.
And let's get back to the movies. See you later.